call is now being recorded.
Tom, thanks again for talking to the AC Press today. And I first wanted to start by talking about, Atlantic City versus Vegas. I'm sure you spent a lot of time in both towns. So what's it like to come play here versus, Vegas?
I was contractually obligated to go for 4 months to go do the Palazzo in Vegas with America's Got Talent. They make you do the live show afterwards. You sign something early on saying, in the unlikely event that you make the finals, you are at our beck and call. And so I had to go do these 4 months in Vegas. And when you're in Vegas for 4 months, you first of all, it's unbearably hot. But second of all, you get to see the dark underbelly of Vegas, which I'm sure there's dark underbellies of every place in the world. But I had never seen it before until I was there. And it's great. I don't mind going to Vegas. It's wonderful. But AC is I can drive to AC, and there's an ocean right there. And it's just I prefer Vegas. I prefer AC to Vegas just because of its close proximity to my home. I live in Rockland County, New York, and so I just prefer it. There's the Strip versus the Boardwalk. There's two little those are both your claim to fame, I suppose. But I will take Vegas Junior, i.e. AC, over that any day. And I like AC better than I go. So I'm going to Foxwoods next week, and I do Mohegan Sun and all those other places too. But they're just, it's just one place. AC is many different casinos, and I've been just going there longer than any other places in my career. Since I first started in Boston, I was driving down to do AC. I was doing the Trop, the comedy stop at the Trop, and then I moved over to the Borgata once the Borgata came to town, and now I'm at Harris. So I just, for whatever reason, I like the coast and I like AC.
Does that translate into a difference in audiences when you say you like the coast? Is there a different, it's more of the northeast corridor kind of audience than Vegas is a little bit all over the place, I guess, with
It is, and I'm not verbally defecating upon the audiences in Vegas, but it really is red state versus blue state to some degree. There's the East Coast, the West Coast, and then the dark meat in between, or whatever it is. The fluff in between, and that's what those people butter my bread, and I work in the Midwest all the time, but those are the same people that go to Vegas. So I remember doing Last Comic Standing in Vegas. This is, 12, 13 years ago, and the comics were going on stage and being filthy and thinking, I'm in Vegas, I can be filthy. No, you can't, because these are all people from Oklahoma and Missouri and, and from Utah that are down there on vacation. So they were just shocked at the language and everything of the people who were going on stage and being dirty. You really, they call it Sin City, but that's a misnomer. And the other thing is their synapses just don't fire as quickly as the people on the coast. And I'm sorry to say that, but a crowd in California or New York is a little sharper, in my estimation, than a crowd in, Nebraska. Sorry, Nebraska, but that's the reality.
You have to have that tough love thing, so that's okay, I'm sure. Yeah. So, I wanted to ask you, of course, about America's Got Talent. And first of all, losing to a dog act, have you become
really?
a cat
Is that where we're going to go with this?
We're going there, Have you become a cat guy now? Do you kick dogs and you walk by them? Like, how do you feel about the whole thing now that some time's gone by? So.
People think that I actually went out and started abusing dogs. That I did not draft Michael Vick to my fantasy team the next day. I have no ill will towards dogs. They were a wonderful act. I honestly never thought I'd make it to the finals. I thought I'd be eliminated, as every comic up until my year had been, by Pierce Morgan. They were eliminated before the quarterfinals, and so I never thought I would make it as far as I did. So everything above that was gravy, and I didn't think the dog act would be there at the end, and I didn't think I would be there at the end. If you had asked me in the beginning of the season if the two acts standing there at the end would be Latte Dogs and Tom Cotter, I would have said, you are on crack. But that's the way America wanted it, and that's the way it worked out, and I'm all right with it. Britain's Got Talent was won by a dog act in season 8 also. So same thing. It's all right. I'm not bitter. I love dogs.
And have you thought about bringing a dog into your own act, maybe, as the way to sort of,
People suggested that. Some people said that I should walk out on stage with a puppy under my arm and not even refer to it. Just do my whole set holding the puppy. Instead of holding a microphone, have a live microphone and just hold the puppy, occasionally pet the puppy, but never reference it, and do the entire 45 minutes to an hour and then say thank you, good night, and walk out. And I thought about doing it once or twice. I thought that would be funny, but I never did it. I love dogs. I had dogs growing up. We always had dogs. I love dogs. They were a great act, and they deserved to win. According to America, who am I to judge who deserved to be there and who didn't at the end? I'm just really happy that I was there to be runner-up.
You were already, a veteran. You've done a lot of stuff before you got there. So what has that meant subsequently now to have been on that show? And, did it deliver as far as your career is concerned, like taking you up a notch? Or
Up until then, my greatest accomplishment in my own mind was The Tonight Show, just because I grew up watching Johnny Carson, and getting to do The Tonight Show was huge for me, and that was a huge hurdle. But this, America's Got Talent, is just a different beast, Rob. Honestly, God, primetime network television is such a giant behemoth as far as viewing audience is concerned, because we all do the Lenos, the Lettermans, the Fallons, the Fergusons, all those. Every comic does those. We've been around for a while. You've done 2 or 3 of those. But nobody watches those comparatively. The numbers are, and I love doing them. I've done 3 Fergusons since America's Got Talent. I will always do them, but they don't deliver the audience that primetime network television does. And the other thing is people are falling asleep when they're watching those shows. They're, dozing off. They're not an attentive audience, whereas America's Got Talent has 20 million viewers the first time it airs, and then it airs again later in the week, and then it airs in foreign markets. So I get emails now from all over the world from people who are just seeing the show for the first time now. It's just giant, and then that translates into raising your stock as an entertainer and putting more asses in seats. And so it just, it's been, I hate to use the term blessing because it sounds like a religious thing, but it really was a blessing for me and my family, because I married a comedian, because who needs health insurance? And so we really weren't economically stable, I will say, before the show. And now I can at least dream about sending my 3 boys to college and having a retirement plan that doesn't include a metal detector. So there you have it.
And now, for people who saw you on the show, and there's a certain sensibility, primetime network TV. There's certain, you can go up to the edge, but you can't really quite cross it. So, what's the tone like if they were to come see you at the casino, or how different is the show? I mean, obviously you're the same comedian, but you have more freedom, I guess, to say what you want to say.
Well, dramatically different will be, on TV I had 90 seconds. 90 seconds is a minute and a half. That's all you have. And so you just got a little tiny taste of what you'll see at a live show. And at a casino, casinos are adult entertainment. That's by design. So I'm not going to be filthy. I'm not going to be hitting people over the head and dropping a million F-bombs or anything, but I will be talking about adult topics. I'll be somewhere in between Andrew Dice Clay and Bill Cosby, somewhere in that realm, and it'll be fun. I promise. If people show up, they will laugh. I'll follow them home and tickle them in their driveway if they don't, so they will laugh that night. And by the way, on the TV show, they told me to go edgy. They said, we know it's primetime network television, but it's the first year of Howard Stern as a judge, and we know we're going to have people who are his minions watching the show. So they said, go edgy and we'll pull you back. And the only time they pulled me back on one joke the entire season. They edited, they made me get rid of one joke, but the rest of it they let me fly with. Now, of course, I didn't come to them with really dirty stuff, but I had to have everything approved by standards and practices before the show, and they only gave me grief the entire season on one joke, and that was it.
What was the joke? What was the topic? Do you remember?
Yeah, it was my airplane stuff. I said that it was just a one-liner. I said I was on an airplane recently, and I was dressed to kill. I had a turban, a beard, and exploding sandals. And they were worried about, the ethnic, that it was more of a ethnic bashing joke, and it wasn't even about it being dirty. They just didn't want to offend people of the Hindu persuasion or the Arab persuasion or Muslims or whoever else might be wearing a turban and sandals and having a beard.
Right. Yep. And I saw that bit that you did, where the judges had to pick, you gave them a list of topics and they had to pick, and you had to sort of, react. I think Howie Mandel picked college and you did the whole, the bit about the college stuff. So did you ever, let the audience do that too? Or was that just like a gimmick for the show? Or it seemed like a kind of a fun thing to sort of show off your stuff that you can kind of think on your feet?
Yeah, all right. The reason I did that, and I'll try to be as brief as I can explaining this, was that, the guy everyone thought was going to win the thing was the Earth Harp guy. A guy who played this giant harp that stretched over the entire theater. So every time he performed, he would jack it up, and Howie Mandel would say, next round, you really got to step it up. You got to step it up. Well, how do you step it up if you're a comedian? And so the Earth Harp guy, the first time he performed, it was just he and a drummer. And then the second time it was he and a whole band. And then the third time it was he, a band, and a choir. And the fourth time he performed, it was he, an orchestra, a whole choir, and a chick flying around above the Earth Harp on a wire. And I'm like, how the hell am I how do I compete with that? So I needed, as you say, it is a gimmick. I woke up at 5 a.m. on Nantucket at the Nantucket Comedy Festival and had this epiphany that I was going to do a comedy jukebox, and they were going to make the stage look like a jukebox, and the judges could pick a topic and I could go with it. And I've been at it for 25 years, so I know all my material. So I just gave them 8 bits that I had practiced in the 90-second chunks and said, pick one, and they picked one. And the other reason I did that is because the other comedian that was still alive in the competition during the quarterfinals was a kid who had only been doing comedy for like 4 or 5 years, and I wanted to distinguish myself from him. He was very funny and unique and completely different from me, but I wanted to show that I had more experience and more material and more ability to kind of work on my toes than he did, and so that's why I did that.
It still seems to sort of illustrate that kind of, the nature of stand-up, though, is you sort of need to be prepared for anything. You may come in with your plan and your material, but if it's not working or the audience is different than you thought, I guess you sort of have to be able to, at least in your mind, say, okay, let's switch gears and do something else. I would. Yeah,
you have to do that, and I thought Howard Stern would throw me into the bus for that, and for the same reason that you called it a gimmick, it really was a gimmick. Other friends of mine who were comedians said, don't do that, you idiot. Just go out and do what you've been doing. You've already made it to the quarterfinals. They obviously don't hate you. Just you dance with what brung you, and you go out and you do what you've been doing. And I said, I can't do that because, everybody else is using this huge stage and this huge platform in more exciting ways. I can't just choose different material. I got to come out and do something with a little more bells and whistles. And then in the finals, I did a thing where I had Nick Cannon roll a dice, and each side of the dice had a different topic on it, and then I went with that. And it was just to kind of, again, show, as you say, that you want to be able to adapt to whatever situation you have and dance on your feet. You never know when you're going to get heckled. You never know where that's going to go, because now it's not a monologue, it's a dialogue. And so you have to be able to kind of improv and be on your toes, and I just wanted to show that I at least had that ability.
And speaking of that, I'm curious about what it's like to around the breakfast table when you're living with a comedian. Do you have to kind of come up with a one-liner first thing in the morning? Is there a lot of pressure to be funny, or do you guys are you not funny with each other purposely? Like, okay, let's just take a break from the jokes and. Do you work on material together? I think you've done some collaborations, right? So
we have. It's funny that you say that, because this very morning we both got up with the kids this morning to put them on the bus for school, and we both said to each other, wow, we are clearly not morning people, because we are not. We're up late. It's just the nature of the beast. Sometimes we're coming back from a club in Manhattan at 2 a.m, and then the next morning we got to be up slinging eggs and pouring orange juice for our kids. So we're decidedly not funny in the morning. We're very grumpy. But yeah, we've been married for 13 years, and we were dating on and off for 6 years before we got married. Oh, so someone's calling me. Ignore that. And so we diffuse arguments with sarcasm and humor, and that's why it's worked out so well for us.
Sounds like most married couples to me then.
Yeah. We like it. It works for us.
And how old are the kids?
The twins are 11 and the youngest is 6.
So you have a little bit of a ways to go before the college time then, a few more years to save for that. So
we do indeed. We started late because I wanted my wife to be going through menopause at the same time that my kids were going through puberty, so that the house was just full of hormones. And as a parent, you want to be having issues with bladder control at the same time your youngest kid is. So that's what we're doing. That's what we planned it this way.
Right.
I'm going to be 70 when my youngest gets out of college. So, or not 70, but pushing it, 68. And he's going to say, "Dad, let's go throw a football," and I'm going to pass out. So it's going to be awkward. But we waited a little while to have kids, and that's what a lot of couples are doing these days. And that's the bed we made, and we will sleep in it.
All right. Well, it sounds like it's working out pretty well. So.
Tony Randall had kids when he was in his 70s, didn't he?
At least, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. So before we go today, is there anything else you wanted to mention? Anything else that's going on that we should know about, a special or a CD or DVD or anything like that?
Yeah, you can go to my website, which is oddly enough, tomcotter.com. I'm also on Twitter and I'm on Facebook. So just think Tom Cotter, Twitface, and you'll find me. And we're working on a new CD now. We're waiting to hear about our hour special, and I have a pilot with NBC that's being shopped around, and who knows what the next chapter will be. But I'll be touring until that decision is made. And I'm looking forward to coming back to AC. I haven't been at AC in probably 2.5 years now, since the beginning of America's Got Talent. Actually I was there once for a corporate event, but that was a private event. I'm excited to be back and performing at Harris.
Great. Well, glad to have you back, and thanks so much for calling in today. I appreciate it.
Robert, I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I hope all is well in your world.
It is. Thanks, Tommy. Take care.
All right, buddy. See you.
Bye. Bye.